Hey everybody, welcome back to JT channel and welcome to JT's Wrestling Review, the wrestling review show that doesn't actually review anything. We just kind of talk about stuff. I, of course, am JT, and today we're going to talk about a couple of things that have happened this week over on WWE. Now, don't worry, I have a plan to talk about Double or Nothing as well. Not a full-on review of it, but just kind of talking about it because it was a crazy show and I don't want to ignore it. First of all, of course, as always, thank you to everybody who's been keeping up with the channel this week. Hasn't been a whole lot of wrestling stuff lately, but there is definitely more. Like I said, JTWR is more of a scattered show now. And if you hear smacking noises in the background, that's my daughter. She's in the window of the cabin. I would be out in the grass, but still very wet grass, and my shoes are already soaked. So I'm sitting here on our porch as we need to talk about the things that have been absolutely crazy, in my opinion, from this week. We're going to talk a little bit about, I put all their names in the title of the video, but Ethan Page, Jordynne Grace, and Becky Lynch. And we're going to start with, I want to start with Jordynne Grace, actually. I don't normally watch NXT. Even when I have time to watch wrestling, I watch Raw, Dynamite, and SmackDown. Those are the three that I like to focus on. There's nothing wrong with NXT or Collision or Rampage, Ring of Honor, or Impact Wrestling, or TNA, or New Japan, blah, 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 on and on and on. There's no problems with any of those shows. It's just those are the three I like to watch. Now, I keep up with NXT because, of course, I have WWE on YouTube. So, usually on Wednesday mornings, I'll hop over to their YouTube channel, see what happened, watch some clips or whatever. And I actually saw the Ethan Page thing on Facebook, but we'll get to that in a second. I hopped onto Twitter to see what was going on, and there it was. There was Jordynne Grace challenging Roxanne Perez, and I was just like, wait, what? So I went and I watched it for myself, and I was pretty hyped. We got the Dwayne Johnson going on because that's awesome for Jordynne Grace. This is the second time we've seen her in WWE this year. Now, of course, she was a surprise in the Rumble. I believe she was like number 5. She had a great showing. And then she hinted that that wasn't it for the company, for the crossovers. So that was really big. And this is Wrestling Review, not Wrestling Reports. So as far as how I feel about it, I love Jordynne Grace. Jordynne Grace is she's incredible. I haven't been following her for super long. Like, I haven't been following her since like really early in her career. I didn't know about her until probably since she's been in Impact Wrestling / TNA. I was a really big fan of Jonathan Gresham, too. I still am a big fan of Jonathan Gresham. Just kind of I know both of them. I started following her career a little more closely. She became one of my favorites over there. I always thought it'd be cool to see her everywhere else, if that makes any sense. I know I'm kind of like trailing off and stuttering, it seems like, but I'm trying to put this in the right words so I don't say something that doesn't sound right. I don't want to say I want to see her in AEW or not, or WWE or not, because she fits TNA really well. She's the Knockout Champion still, and she's one of those wrestlers that just keeps getting better no matter how good she is. She's always keeps getting better, and this crossover is such a cool idea. And What Culture Wrestling put it together, or put it in really good words, I should say, that TNA and NXT kind of have similar presentations. So it works, they could work together really easily. And there's clearly a working relationship with TNA and WWE nowadays, which is cool, because back in the day, TNA would steal wrestlers and they would have them say dumb shit on television. Everybody remember the Voodoo Kin Mafia? That was the New Age Outlaws. That was Billy Gunn and Road Dogg. Kip James and BG James over in TNA, and VKM is Vincent Kennedy McMahon. So that they were called VKM to take shots at WWE, and they couldn't come up with anything that made any sense, so they just threw 3 words together. We're the Voodoo Kin Mafia. That doesn't make any sense. So it's really cool to see that TNA has changed, and that Triple H being in charge and Nick Khan being in charge, that they're willing to work with other companies. I know they've let wrestlers go to other shows. GCW, for example. Shinsuke Nakamura, of course, got to go work with the Great Muta. And then Now, Jordynne Grace is challenging for the NXT Women's Championship. I guess that's Spring Breakin', or Battleground, or gosh, I'm not sure. I gotta be honest. No, it's not Spring Breakin', it's summer. So I think it's Battleground. Anyway, correct me in the comments. It's really cool, though. That's what I'm gonna say. It's really cool. I know it's not gonna be like title for title or anything, so it's pretty obvious that Jordynne Grace isn't gonna win, most likely. But it's cool because this means that anything can happen. And speaking of, we'll move right on to Ethan Page, because while Jordynne Grace showed up as the challenger for Roxanne Perez, Trick Williams was jumped by Ethan Page. This was during the end of the show. Lash Legend asked Trick Williams, "Tell me the truth, my shoe fell off. Tell me the truth, did you attack people, Ora Mensa, and I don't even know Noam Dar." Again, I don't watch really any NXT. And then while they were talking about it, out of nowhere, Ethan Page showed up. He knocked down Trick Williams, beat him up for a while, hit a running boot. After he said, "Whoop that, Trick. Yeah, I'm about to," which was pretty cool. Sorry. So yeah, that was cool. You know, Ethan Page being in NXT and going after straight after the NXT title makes a lot of sense. His creative in All Elite Wrestling was pretty much dead by the time he left. This was also, just like Jordynne Grace, Ethan Page was a big surprise. None of this was like hinted at. It was all kept under wraps. That's really, really cool. So it's going to be interesting to see Ethan Page in NXT. I always liked him. I knew him a lot, of course, from TNA, which, again, you know, more TNA stuff. It's funny because, short story, when I met my wife when we first started dating in January of 2020, we started dating in, or 21, we started dating in November of 2020. In January, February timeframe of 21, I got her to watch wrestling for the first time. And the first two things she watched with me, the first two major events, were the 2021 Royal Rumble, which was in front of screens, and whatever TNA event took place that's around the same time frame, where Ethan Page faced Karate Man, which was himself, in one of the silliest matches in pro wrestling history. It wasn't good, but it was a ton of fun. And I think Karate Man like killed Ethan Page, or the other way around. That's how we got to AEW, and then now he, of course, is in NXT. So Ethan Page is going to be a great fit for NXT. Of course, he's got to do the thing. And this is something else that What Culture brought up, and I'm glad they did, or else I wouldn't have thought to talk about it. Putting established stars in NXT isn't as, like, it's not a bad thing anymore. I think that's the way to put it. Back in the day, they'd be put down in NXT, and people were like, "What are you doing?" And then they get brought to the main roster and be like, "What are you doing?" Excuse me. It's not a curse anymore. Ethan Page, he's going to NXT. He's going to learn the WWE style, I guess, is what they do down there now. But I think he'll be on the main roster in short order. He's really good. He's a really good talent, and he's really, really good on the mic. So I don't mind him in NXT for sure. I'll definitely be keeping an eye on it. Again, much like Jordynne Grace, I don't think Ethan Page is going to win the NXT title or anything, right away at least. But he definitely deserves a shot to be on the main roster in the near future. So those are my thoughts on Jordynne Grace and Ethan Page. Obviously, I'm a positive guy, so for the most part, I'm just very excited. I do think that Triple H and WWE in general have been doing a really good job at keeping things secret. If I had been watching NXT, I would have lost my mind both times. And of course, I almost forgot. I'd be remiss if I didn't point out that, God, I forgot his name. I think it's Vic at ringside shouted, "Isn't he an AE?" And Booker T went, boop. But, I mean, for the most part, he did almost say AEW on WWE television. So, just because he cut him off at the E doesn't mean we all didn't catch what he said. So, that's really cool. I'm excited for both of them. Now we got to talk about probably the biggest news of all somehow. Somehow it's like Jordynne Grace and Ethan Page. And then up here, apparently Becky Lynch's contract has expired, and she has not signed a new deal. Now, the reason I have been talking for over 9 minutes, and now I'm just getting to Becky Lynch, is because I'm going to be talking for a while about Becky. Sorry. I'm not saying I'm going to talk another 9 minutes, but Becky Lynch has been one of my favorite wrestlers since pretty early on. I don't remember much about the very early, like, river dance gimmick she did. I've only learned about that fairly recently. But when she started being the Irish lass kicker down in NXT, I took notice of her instantly, really liked her, of course liked her character and everything. She was the redheaded, ass-kicking Irish rock star girl to me, and I was like, cool, that was awesome. And then she was, I got interested in how long she's been wrestling and stuff. I learned about Rebecca Quinn, yada, yada, yada. And then I was like, she was instantly like a favorite, like a top favorite. And then I've watched her pretty much ever since. I haven't missed anything Becky Lynch has done since shortly after she became, right around time, she started doing the Irish lass kicker gimmick in NXT. So, but that tells you anything, allergies, by the way, if that tells you anything. And she's been, my daughter's still looking at me through the window. It didn't matter what WWE did with her, even if they did something stupid, I was still always a huge Becky Lynch fan. It didn't matter what program she was in, who she was facing. I've always been a huge fan of Becky Lynch. And when she became the man after Nia Jax busted her nose or whatever, that was it for me. She was my favorite wrestler, one of my favorite wrestlers overall, and easily my favorite female wrestler in the world at that point. And I know there's some die-hard marks out there, and mark isn't always an insult, by the way, but there are some die-hard marks as an insult that are going to scream at me because there's better wrestlers. I didn't care at that point. I was ignorant to the wider wrestling world for the most part. But either way, no matter even when I learned about the rest of the wrestling world and I became a fan of just professional wrestling, all of it, Becky has always been my favorite. So of course, when in 2020, when she got pregnant, I was like, let's see what happens when she comes back. Let's see what she does. She came back. She became Big Time Bex. And while that wasn't the greatest idea because they tried turning her heel and it just didn't work because, much like me, people just love Becky Lynch nowadays, even that character was still good. She had the match with Lita, which for me was a dream match. She had the dream match with Rhea Ripley as well. So she's had all these matches, and Rhea, I could talk about Rhea for another 12 minutes. But Becky always remained way up here with me. It doesn't matter who exists in All Elite Wrestling or down in Japan or in Impact / TNA or even in GCW. Becky has always been my favorite. And when I heard that her contract was coming up, I assumed, it's just wrestling news. We're always gonna hear about contract statuses. People's contracts come up and then they resign. Drew, everyone was like, Drew's gonna leave the Fed and head over to Real Wrestling and AEW, and everybody was like screaming at each other over this. And it was like, no, he was just waiting for the right moment, and then he signed it, and now he's fine. And he's getting a title match in Scotland, so chill, okay? I hate tribalism. But I didn't think much of it. But then I heard, through What Culture, I'm going to drop their names as many times as I can apparently, that the contract was up and she hadn't resigned. And she had that match with Liv at King Queen of the Ring in Saudi Arabia. And then she, of course, dealt with Liv again, this time in a steel cage match, which I guess was her, official passing of the torch point. Because, she lost and then she lost again. It's all because of Dominic Mysterio. And I feel like we're being played by Dom and Liv, but that's a different video for a different day potentially. But now the big question, now that I'm done fangirling about Becky, is will Becky Lynch go to All Elite Wrestling? No. Sorry, I had to zoom in on my terrible teeth. I had to be dramatic. I don't think Becky Lynch belongs in All Elite Wrestling. That's just not the right fit for someone like Becky. I wasn't sure it was someone that was, I'm not sure. My stuttering, I'm telling you, one day we're going to get it under control and then this channel is going to skyrocket. I didn't think it was the place for Mercedes Moné. I do believe I'm being proved wrong and I'm happy for that. AEW doesn't always do grandeur. And that's fine. Not everybody needs to do that. But Becky does better in a place like WWE, at least in my opinion. I'm not saying she couldn't go in AEW. She absolutely could. Like I said, she's one of my favorite wrestlers in the world. Not just women's, just in general. She could go to AEW. She could tear it up with Mercedes, for example. Or Sky Blue. Or Julia Hart. Or Timeless Toni Storm. That would be a really fun program. I could go on and on and on. Plus, there's the Forbidden Door coming up. Stephanie Vaquer, if I said her name right. And others from Japan and I guess CMLL as well. So there's a lot that Becky could do in AEW, but she has such a tenure and so much more to give to WWE. I think this is just a break. She's a mother. She is a mother. Seth is taking time off because of injuries, I believe. So it would make sense if Becky takes time off so that her and Seth can be a mother and a father for a while and just not worry about pro wrestling. This is one of those go away so I can miss you things. I think that when both of them return, whether you did it in the same night or over time or whatever, that they're going to be even more popular than ever. That's how they both are. They're both immensely popular superstars, and somehow their stock is only going to grow while they're gone. The first time you hear "burn it down" or "whoa," you're going to go crazy. I'm going to go crazy. The crowds are going to go crazy. Roofs are going to start shaking and breaking. They're going to say, "You remember when this place used to have a roof?" So it'll be good for everybody. I do not think Becky Lynch is going to go anywhere else. Yes, I do think people like Tony Khan and whoever's running Impact Wrestling and whoever's running like New Japan or Stardom and stuff, I think they're all going to be like, it's Becky Lynch, and they're all going to scramble and toss contracts at her. But I don't think she's going anywhere. I think she's going to stay with WWE, and she'll come back when the time is right. I don't know when that is. Maybe she comes back to deal with Rhea after Rhea gets the title back sometime down the line. Maybe she becomes a two-time Women's Royal Rumble winner. I don't know. Maybe she has to deal with the Wyatt Six for all I know. But I do not, I just to repeat myself, I strongly do not believe that she's signing anywhere else. So I guess that's it for this video. Like I said, I will do a video about Double or Nothing. What that's likely going to look like is I'm going to get a notebook and just write down the results in order. Like, I know the results. I watched the pay-per-view, but I don't remember the match order exactly. 4.5 hours is a long time for a show. And then as I'm looking at the matches on paper, I'll probably remember everything I want to talk about. Don't worry. I'll talk about Darby Allin and Jack Perry trying to actually kill each other on live television, or at least on pay-per-view. But thank you, everybody, so much for joining me. If you like this kind of thing, make sure you subscribe. I'm sure a large percentage of you aren't subscribed. I'm not popular enough to look at the actual percentages. To my 41 subscribers, thank you for being here. We're getting very close. 50 subscribers, I get to do a live stream. Don't forget. Head on down and comment, like, share, subscribe. I already said subscribe. Let me know in the comments. Tell me what I'm right and wrong about. Let me know what you're excited about. Do you think Becky will sign anywhere else? And if she does, where? But until next time, again, look out for that Double or Nothing video. And there's plenty more coming here on JT Channel. Until then, this is JT Channel. I am JT, and I'll see you next time.